Welcome everyone to That Was History. If you've been with us before, you know how this show works, but if not, we're basically all about history. World history, in fact. This is just one episode of many that we have about historical events and information. So be sure to stick around and hit that subscribe button if you like the show, because we can't do this without your support.
Our first story seems very appropriate in relation to the current events in the United States today. As most of you know, the presidential race between Obama and Governor Mitt Romney is about to come to a close. This is all based around the basic principle of the common person going to the polls and voting. Sadly, a lot of people just don't even go to the polls and vote. They just sit around, they don't go vote, it gets by, slips their mind, but you know they're throwing away the power that they could have to use to shape the future of the economy. But you know, it's your right as an American and your responsibility to go vote because some groups weren't even allowed to vote. On November 2nd of 1964, residents of Washington, D.C. weren't even allowed to vote until that day. That's right, D.C. residents were barred from voting in presidential elections until the 23rd Amendment gave them 3 electoral votes. So if you haven't voted in this year's election, remember the next time in 4 years, get out there and go vote. It's your right and responsibility.
If you've kept up with us this far, you know that we'd like to talk about World War II. It's one of our favorite topics. And if you know anything about Nazi Germany at all, you know that one of Adolf Hitler's main goals was to create an Aryan master race to rule the world. But have you ever stopped to think, what happened to his Aryan master race after the war was over? Interestingly enough, on November 4th of 2006, these children from Adolf Hitler's master race project were able to meet as adults for the first time. This meeting was held in Germany, and these former children were able to discuss the traumas they endured, as well as get answers to questions they had about their origin.
There have been many books and movies about people looking for lost treasure, lost artifacts. Many people fantasize about finding that one priceless relic that will set them apart from the rest of the world. Well, if you were in Egypt on November 5th of 1996, this could have been you. On this day, divers discovered the ancient port of Alexandria that was swallowed up some 2,000 years earlier. Alexandria's port contained the ruins of Cleopatra's palace and Mark Antony's home and temple while he resided in Egypt. Also on this day, divers discovered thousands of artifacts dating all the way back to 323 BC. They also found the original column still standing in an excellent condition. Now this isn't your everyday find. Hey Cliff, I got a question for you.
Alright, let's hear it.
Keep the queen or become a republic?
Wait, what?
Keep the queen or become a republic?
I don't follow you. What are you talking about?
Just stop thinking and answer the question.
No, but I don't... Y'all know what he's talking about? You're all probably as clueless as I was just then, but keep the queen or become a republic was quite literally the question that was raised to Australia on November 6th of 1999. Interestingly enough, Australia chose to keep the queen.
So as we enter into this next story, we just want to take a moment to pause and honor any of those who have fought for our country and say that our heart goes out to any and all families that have lost a loved one to the armed forces. As you're already aware, we have a day out of the year where we set aside some time to celebrate our Veterans of War, known as Veterans Day. But it wasn't always coined this. On November 7th of 1954, it was made known that the holiday usually celebrated on November 11th, known as Armistice Day, would now be celebrated as Veterans Day. It was called Armistice in order to celebrate the end of World War I, but now that another war had passed, it seemed right to call it something else. So now it would be called Veterans Day and would recognize people from the Civil War, World War I, World War II, and also people in the Korean conflict.
Many countries from around the world have made it their goal to achieve equality amongst their citizens. America has done a pretty good job of this, as is evidenced by President Obama, who is considered to be the first African-American president. However, America isn't the only country to achieve such great success. On November 7th of 1907, Ireland elected Mary Robinson to be their first woman president for the country. This is a feat that not even America has accomplished yet, and I tip my imaginary hat to them for it.
So there's always that talk about immigration and all the illegal immigrants that we have here in the United States alone. As we have said here on That Was History, we do not support one political party, but however, this is a huge topic for Democrats and Republicans. So what's the solution? On November 9th of 2002, Leon Boya, who was a U.S. citizen that lived only 500 yards away from the U.S.-Canadian border, marked his territory and vowed to protect his land. Boya explained that it was possible for people to cross the U.S. border illegally, but in order to do so, they said that they have to get through their neighbors first.
Well guys, this episode's in the can. We really hope that you enjoyed this episode, and if you did, leave us a comment. We love answering y'all's questions, and we always get back to you. Well, be sure to come back next Friday when we put up a new episode. We'll see you next time.
And like us on Facebook and also on Twitter, and make sure you hit that subscribe button, because we couldn't do it without you. Hey Cliff, I got a question for you.
Alright, let's hear it.
Keep the Queen or become a Republic?
Wait, what?
Keep the Queen or become a Republic?
I don't follow you. What are you talking about?
Keep the Queen or become a Republic?
There was only two.
I don't know what I'm supposed to say after that.
That's why I was waiting on you. I was like, I was hitting it.
America has done a pretty good job of this, as is evidenced by President Obama, who is considered the first African-American president. But then a chair squeaked, and we ruined this set, and I did so well.